I'm going to show you how to use puppet2d to rig and animate your character. We've got this character here, just for our test sake. See, we split them up into different parts. You've got like the head, the leg. We're actually going to use vertices of the character. Okay, so let's get started. Actually, the first thing we want to do is just set up the layers, just so that we can lock the bones are going to influence the vertices of the character. Okay, so let's get started. Actually, the first thing we want to do is just set up the layers, just so that we can lock the bones and the controls, and also make sure that the controls go above the bones. So we're going to just add some sorting layers. I've actually already done it here, but you just can come over here and add controls and add bones. And so now when you actually, if you in the actual window, if you select bones here, and we start creating our bones, they're all going to be in a bone sorting layer. Okay, but before we start creating our bones, let's bring in our character. So let's start with the head. Okay, this is all set up as a sprite sheet. So it's been I've already split it up over here, and so we can just drag in the parts we need. So let's get the body. Let's get his leg. Let's make sure his parts are sorted correctly. So we're going to move that back. Let's move his head in there. Got the arm top. This can go in the front. And arm gun top and arm bottom. Okay. Now we want to put him on a layer so we don't accidentally select him. So if we put him onto the player layer, then we won't. Oops. I select them all. Oh yes, it's not locked. We've got to lock the layer. Okay, that means that we're not going to select him whilst we're creating our bones. Okay, so now we can start creating our bones. So when we click Create Bone Tool, we're now in bone creation mode, so we can start drawing our joints. So if we start drawing them over here like this, we'll draw a spine. Now when you click right click, it starts a new joint, but it doesn't exit the tool. If you press enter or finish bone, you'll finish creating bones. So now I'm going to select this joint. That means I can start drawing joints parented to that joint. So start doing like that, draw that joint, and then right click again, and then start another one. And just quickly draw out these joints. We can do one for the neck, and one for the legs. Okay. Okay, just putting in roughly now. Okay, now basically, now that we've created our bones, we want to name them. It's a very good idea to name them. It can get very confusing, and if you've just got like random names like bone 1, 2, and 3. So bear with me. I'm just going to go through and name them all. So this is a hip. Let's call it spine. It's leg R. And sorry. And L. Right. Okay, so, oh yeah, we've got the head. Should be the last thing. Okay, so we've now named it all. So that's basically all the bones sort of stage set up. I can just show you a little bit more about the bones. See the end, these joints, the size of them get scaled by how far the distance basically between them. But the end joints can be changed with this value. So if you just click that, can change the scale. So if your character is a little different scale to mine, you can just readjust this just by playing around with that value and getting it to how you want. Okay, now I'm going to create the controls. So I want to make sure the here it's on controls there. And so now what I'll do is the first control I'm going to make is the it's a arm and leg control. So to do this, it's pretty simple. All you need to do is select the end control of a three joint chain. So you've got like an arm, elbow, and hand. So I'm going to select that one and create IK control, and it creates this little control here. And that control can move around that arm. And we've also got an extra little fun feature. If you click here, squash and stretch, and if you do that, it kind of stretches the arm. And but for this character, we're not going to use that. Okay, I'm going to sort of add this to the rest of the arms and legs. So create an IK control. Now don't worry if it flips, because you can just click this checkbox here, and it will flip it to the right orientation. You can actually animate that, and that's quite a sort of useful thing sometimes if you want to break joints and things. So we've got that arm. And let's do the legs. Let's flip that. Okay, so now that we've done the arms and legs, we just want to do the body. Now, you could theoretically just animate the bone directly, but as you see here, there's lots of non-zero values. It can be pretty ugly to work with that. So a nicer way is to actually work with our parent controls. So over here, we're going to create a parent control. And you see it's all set to 0. So like, if we were to sort of move it into an animated position, we could 0 these out, and it goes back to 0, 0. So we're going to create an orient control. An orient control only moves the rotation, but doesn't move the position. So that sort of stops people from ripping out the body as they're animating it. But as you'll see, you kind of want this to move with the parent. So what we do here, this is what we've been creating, is a lots of controls. We have global control, which moves everything. And over here we had the hip control that we made, and we have the spine control. Now, if we want this spine control to move the hip control, what we need to do is just take its parent and just drag it into the hip. And now, when we move this about, it's going to move around. So we're going to just sort of add another head control. Let's do the same idea, so just drop down to the spine. And okay, and I think that's all we need to do. Yes, it is. And we've now created our rig. But as you can see, of course, the character doesn't move with the bones. So that's what we want to do next. Now, there's two ways that we're going to do this. One way is we're going to parent some of these sprites to the bones. So you see this one, for example, we could do it ourselves. We could just find the bone, drop it on. But like to speed this up, we've puppet2d has a tool for you. You can do so. We'll select all of these. I'm going to leave out the body and the leg because we're going to do that in a different way. So select all the bones and select all the sprites that you want to parent, and just click Parent Object to Bones. And you'll see when you do that, they already find the right bone. And if it gets the wrong bone, don't worry. You can just drag it onto the correct one. Okay, but now we want to do the body and the leg. Now the body wants to be skinned to multiple bones, so you don't want to just sort of parent it to one bone. You want it to the vertices of it to move with those bones. So what we need to do is actually needs to not be a sprite; it needs to be a mesh. So what you need to do is convert it to a mesh using this button. So we select it and click Convert Sprite to Mesh, and you'll see this mesh now becomes split up. Like with basically it's got vertices, which means it can now be bound to the bones. We're going to do the same with the leg. Now with the leg, I want to show you something else, just to sort of, if you wanted to edit how it's going to be created, how that mesh is going to be created. If you add a polygon collider 2D over here, then what you do is you get like a kind of little bounding mesh which you can use to edit it. So if you use Control or Shift, you can add points or move them around, and so you can actually change how this, or remove points. You can basically change how this mesh is going to be created. So when I actually go ahead and use Convert Sprite to Mesh, it's going to use those vertices which I've added and use it how I've edited it. So that's how you can kind of, if you wanted it to be much simpler as it's split up, you can do that. You can sort of edit however you want, basically. Okay, so now that we've made these meshes, we can start skinning it to the bones. So what we do is we select the mesh and we select the bones we want to skin to. So we want, from this one we want the hip and the right legs, basically, and we just go bind smooth skin, and that will skin the leg to the bones. You'll notice there's a little problem over here. We're going to sort that out later on, but let's do the whole body bit. So the body, we want pretty much nearly all the joints, but let's just go through all of them. So we want the hip, want the leg, left leg, spine, right arm, and neck. And so we'll select that and select the body, and we'll bind it. Okay, so yeah, that's great. Now that we've done that, we could just lock the mesh. So let's select it. Oh yeah, we've got to add this into when we converted it to a mesh. It's lost its layer, so we're just going to put it onto the player layer. So we're going to select it again, and then as you can see, we now have a character which is nicely set up for us to animate. Now there's there was a problem with some of the skin weights, so let's show you how we can sort of fix that. So if we select our body, let's go for our leg, and if you go to Edit Skin Weights, you'll see these little handles come up, and these are little vertex handles where we can use to sort of edit the weights of our mesh. So if we do this, you can see that where it's kind of going wrong. So if I select these vertices, that one as well. Oops. Those, just select those ones, and over here in the inspector, we basically have like which joints it's weighted to. So you have like the joint, you can choose which one, and you've got the weight for it. So for example here, we want to probably just have it all weighted directly to the knee. So we're going to switch that to the knee, and if you're updating multiple vertices at once, you can just click this update skin weights, and then everything selected will be updated. So now you can see like the weight's a little bit better. We can sort of play around with skin weights and kind of tweak it more, but we're just going to leave that for now, because it will be okay for what we're doing for demonstration purposes. Okay, once you finish doing the skin weights, just click Finish Editing Skin Weights, and you'll see all those vertices will disappear, and it's now ready to sort of to animate. We're going to do the same with the body. Just click the body and Edit Skin Weights, and let's just select those guys, and let's put it on the knee L. It's the knee L. Update skin weights, great. Finish. Let's just, there we go. All right, so I think we're ready. Let's do the final bits before we start animating. What we're going to do is we want to make sure that our hip, or our bones basically, are parented to the global control as well as our mesh. And the useful thing about this is if we just kind of update this, by turning it on and off, we're now ready to sort of, we can actually use these two things. We can hide the controls and bones. So if we click that or that, we can basically turn on and off our bones and controls. It's very useful for like sort of, generally you don't really want to see the bones, because you can use our controls most of the time when we're animating. When you actually want to see the animation, you can just switch that off and watch him moving around without any annoying controls in the way. Okay, so let's just keep the controls on, and I think we're ready to do a quick little animation just to test our rig. Okay, so here let's create, select global control, and let's create a new clip. Let's call it walk cycle. Another one, just replace it, it's fine. Okay, and then we're going to start posing and animating this guy. So let's just sort of move him into like a walking pose. So you can see how easy and quick it is to sort of pose him up and get him into a nice little position. You don't have to worry about feet of sliding, as long as you just got like feet on the ground, they'll stay on the ground. So if we just kind of get him into like that, he can pose like this. It doesn't really matter about the animation, we're just doing a quick test. Let's see. Move this over here. So maybe like that. And then maybe it could be there. Use copy and paste this. It's going to be a very quick little animation test. It doesn't have to be any good, but let's just do some up and down. Let's copy that. Okay. Maybe like kind of the leg lift when we kind of when he steps. So over here, rotate it. Oh, didn't keyframe his leg. Yeah, so maybe we can lift the other leg. Yeah, it looks like a little bit jerky, the motion of this. Let's go to the curves and go to the hip position. Ah, there we go, that's the problem. So he goes down and up, down, and then we need a keyframe there. Okay, I mean it doesn't really matter because it's just sort of show. Okay, one last thing just to sort of finish off before I finish this tutorial. It's going to show you one other like very useful thing about having having it all with Unity. This puppet2d. Basically, if we unlock this layer, we can switch out sprites really easily. And that can be animated, and that's very useful. So let's say you can have like different face heads or different parts, and you can kind of switch them around, and it's going to be a very cool thing. So for example, this guy, let's say I wanted to sort of animate him to change the rotate position so it's facing outwards. So now you see over here, we actually see the actual sprites, and like you can actually sort of move them about and animate it like that, and you can sort of that sort of can be very cool, like especially if you've got like characters with like different facial expressions. You can do talking and stuff like that, and it can all be part of this rig, and it's all kind of it's all set up to go with that. So I hope you enjoy working with puppet2d. If you have any questions, please contact me. My contact details are at the end of this video. Thank you very much.